join us on Patreon, and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Throughout human history, stories of diverse peoples and cultures have been told, written, and immortalized in countless ways. Yet, among these countless stories, the histories of black-skinned native tribes across the world have often been obscured, misrepresented, or entirely erased. These communities, rich in culture, traditions, and profound wisdom, once thrived across various continents, leaving behind traces of their existence in oral traditions, ancient artifacts, and the very landscapes they once called home. Rediscovering these lost histories is not merely an act of uncovering the past, but a journey into understanding the complex web of humanity's shared heritage. For centuries, the dominant narratives of global history have been shaped by colonial perspectives, often marginalizing or omitting the voices and stories of indigenous black-skinned tribes. These narratives have painted an incomplete picture, favoring the conqueror's versions of events while diminishing the significance of the conquered. This has led to a skewed understanding of how interconnected human societies have been and how diverse the human family truly is. Today, however, there is a growing movement to reclaim and celebrate these forgotten stories, breathing life into histories that were nearly lost to time. The ancient world was far more interconnected than many realize. Black-skinned native tribes were not isolated or primitive as often portrayed, but were integral to the development of civilizations. They engaged in trade, warfare, cultural exchanges, and migrations that shaped the course of history. From the dense rainforests of Southeast Asia to the remote islands of the Pacific, from the expansive deserts of Australia to the lush valleys of South America, black-skinned native tribes formed the bedrock of many ancient societies. One of the most striking examples of these overlooked communities is the indigenous peoples of Australia, the Aboriginal Australians. Believed to have settled the continent over 65,000 years ago, they are among the oldest continuous cultures on Earth. Their deep connection to the land, expressed through intricate Dreamtime stories, cave art, and spiritual practices, reveals a complex society deeply in tune with nature. Yet, European colonization brought devastating consequences: displacement, disease, and systemic erasure of their cultural practices. Today, efforts to revive Aboriginal languages, traditions, and land rights signal a resilient fight to reclaim their rightful place in history. Similarly, the Negrito peoples of Southeast Asia, scattered across the Philippines, Malaysia, and the Andaman Islands, tell a story of ancient migration and adaptation. These communities, with their distinct dark skin and curly hair, are remnants of early human migrations out of Africa. Despite being some of the earliest inhabitants of these regions, Negrito populations have faced marginalization and neglect in mainstream historical narratives. Their survival amidst rapid modernization and environmental threats underscores their resilience and the urgent need to preserve their cultural heritage. In the Pacific, the Melanesian peoples of Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu offer another lens into the diversity of black-skinned native tribes. Their rich tapestry of languages, traditions, and societal structures reflect centuries of adaptation to their unique environments. Yet, colonial encounters and modern economic pressures have threatened these ways of life. Rediscovering Melanesian histories involves not only studying ancient artifacts, but also listening to the oral traditions that have been passed down through generations, keeping the flames of ancestral knowledge alive. Turning to South America, the story of the Quilombolas in Brazil stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of African-descended communities who forged new identities in the face of enslavement and oppression. While not indigenous in the traditional sense, the Quilombolas represent a fusion of African, indigenous, and European influences, forming autonomous communities that resisted colonial domination. Their struggle for land rights and cultural recognition continues today, highlighting the ongoing challenges of acknowledging the contributions of black-skinned communities to national histories. Africa itself, the cradle of humanity, holds countless stories of ancient black-skinned tribes whose histories have been overshadowed by external narratives. The San people of southern Africa, with their rich rock art and profound knowledge of the natural world, exemplify the deep roots of indigenous African cultures. Their ways of life, once widespread, have been constrained by modern state boundaries and socioeconomic pressures. Reviving the stories of the San and other indigenous African groups is crucial for a holistic understanding of the continent's history. The erasure of black-skinned native tribes from historical narratives was not accidental. It was a deliberate process rooted in colonial ideologies that sought to justify conquest and exploitation. By portraying indigenous black communities as primitive or inferior, colonizers legitimized their actions, paving the way for land dispossession, cultural suppression, and economic exploitation. This historical amnesia has far-reaching consequences, affecting how societies perceive race, culture, and history today. Rediscovering these lost histories is a form of resistance against this erasure. It involves challenging established historical frameworks and embracing interdisciplinary approaches that prioritize indigenous voices. Archaeology, anthropology, linguistics, and oral history must converge to paint a fuller picture of the past. Community-led initiatives to document and preserve cultural practices are vital in this endeavor, ensuring that history is not merely told about these communities but by them. Education plays a pivotal role in this rediscovery. Incorporating the histories of black-skinned native tribes into curricula can dismantle stereotypes and foster a more inclusive understanding of human history. Museums and cultural institutions must also re-examine their collections and narratives, acknowledging the biases in how history has been curated. This shift requires a commitment to ethical research practices, community collaboration, and the repatriation of cultural artifacts. The journey to reclaim these lost histories is also deeply personal for many descendants of these communities. It is a quest for identity, belonging, and pride in a heritage that has been systematically devalued. This reclamation empowers younger generations to connect with their roots, fostering resilience and cultural continuity. It also challenges broader societies to confront uncomfortable truths about the past and work towards a more just and inclusive future. Moreover, the environmental wisdom of many black-skinned native tribes offers valuable insights in the face of global ecological crises. Their sustainable practices, honed over millennia, provide alternative models for living in harmony with nature. Recognizing and respecting this knowledge is not only a matter of historical justice, but also of environmental necessity. In rediscovering the lost histories of black-skinned native tribes, we are reminded that history is not static. It is a living, evolving narrative shaped by those who tell it. By amplifying the voices of these communities, we enrich our collective understanding of the human experience. This journey demands humility, curiosity, and a commitment to truth, no matter how complex or uncomfortable it may be. The path forward involves bridging the past and the present, honoring the resilience of black-skinned native tribes, and ensuring their stories are woven into the fabric of global history. It is a call to recognize the diversity of the human story and to celebrate the rich, vibrant cultures that have endured despite centuries of adversity. In doing so, we move closer to a world where every culture, every people, and every story is valued and remembered.